Hello, my most wonderful friends. I am completely excited about today. I've been waiting for today, day 5 of giving thanks, to talk about this book because this is literally, I don't know, it might be my all-time favorite book. It might be my all-time favorite story about one of my all-time favorite people. It is phenomenal. It is inspiring. It is uplifting. You cannot believe the experiences this man had, and you cannot believe how his love for the Savior grew and grew and grew amidst some of the most horrible, you can't even imagine suffering. You can't even imagine. This is the story of a man named Richard Wurmbrand. You guys, there's a documentary you can watch on Amazon Prime called Tortured for Christ. And it shares some of his story if you don't want to get into the whole book. But the book that I'm going to show you is phenomenal. Today we're talking about, this is called Wurmbrand, and this is not by Richard Wurmbrand, though he has written his own book, which is very good. Though I do recommend this one. This is written by a group called The Voice of the Martyrs, and Tortured for Christ, the complete story. So Richard Wurmbrand wrote a book called Tortured for Christ, and this is put together by The Voice of the Martyrs, a group that specifically finds martyrs and writes their stories down. And this version of it is phenomenal. The woman who wrote it doesn't miss a beat, and she talks about how she was so inspired when she read his book that she had to voice more. It changed her life, and her love for Jesus grew and grew and grew, as did mine through reading about this man. So this is Hungary, literally right after World War II, when we have Russian invasion into Hungary and communist takeover. Amazingly enough, this communist takeover happened in about, oh goodness, like a week's time. They had infiltrated Hungary and taken it over. He is a pastor. He was atheist, was raised atheist and believed in atheism until he got tuberculosis and was sent to a sanitarium. And in the sanitarium, he met a Christian monk. Well, basically this is an amazing story. I'm wrong. He met a Jewish man. There was a Jewish man who had converted to Christianity, who had spent his whole life longing to bring someone to Christianity, a Gentile to Christianity. And he met Richard Wurmbrand, and sure enough, as he's healing from this tuberculosis, this man preaches of Christ to him, and he finds such a strong testimony, he becomes a preacher. And as he's preaching in Hungary during this communist takeover, he is then imprisoned. So this man, Richard Wurmbrand, spends almost 13 years total in prison, 14 years total in prison. 8 years the first time, 6 years the second time, and his wife also spends 4 years. And these are work camps. So these just aren't, oh, you're just hanging out in prison. These are work camps with communist guards that specifically are against Christianity. In fact, he talks about in his book how there's loudspeakers going 12 hours a day saying communism is good, Christianity is bad. He's tortured, beaten, bruised in ways you cannot even imagine. And yes, there is a chapter in this book that is very intense that discusses concretely the tortures that he went through. But the rest of the book, all of the other chapters, are really about his coming to Christ and his experiences of coming to Christ. And you can't even imagine. There's one story in particular that his wife, well, I'm not even going to tell that story. You got to go read the book. I'm going to read just a short version because I'm trying to make these videos short and sweet, of how he came to Christ and how he roots Satan out of his heart, and the love that he feels and the gratitude he feels. In fact, what ends up happening is he's imprisoned for these 8 years. He gets out for a year, and during that year, he found so much joy bringing others to Christ, and so much joy finding this love for his torturers that can only come through Christ, only as a gift from Christ, that he prays to go back. And the Lord sends him back to prison for 6 more years. And he says that his experiences, he talks about at one point that for 3 years straight, he is stuck in isolation. So he's put in solitary confinement for 3 years. No windows, tiny space. He doesn't see the light of day for 3 years. And he says he's about to go mad. And the only thing that keeps him from going mad is he's memorized scriptures. He's memorized tons and tons and tons of scriptures. So he says he sleeps during the day, and at night when there's fewer guards, he stands up and sermonizes to himself. And that's what helped him keep saying, he communes with God, and he talks about seeing the heavens and having the heavens open to him because of this experience. So I wanted to share with you, this is while he's in the camp, in prison. And this is an experience he's had as he's getting tortured. And he has one experience as well where what they do is if they find them praying or they find them preaching, they will go ahead and beat them. And that's the deal they've made with the guards. You can beat us if you find us praying or preaching. So finally, after he's been beaten, he's thrown back into his cell. He starts